Hey, it's Kelly with Ifyouhaveanegg.com, and in celebration of the new Weight Watchers Freestyle program, I'm going to show you how to make tofu. A lot of you know that my mother is vegan, and so Nana taught me everything that I know about tofu. Fortunately, she gleaned a lot of knowledge over to me before she went into the nursing home, but even at that, I'm pretty sure that she could probably whip up a mean tofu if I could get her, near a stove. So what I'm going to be making tonight is a tofu stir fry, and I'm going to start with the first ingredient. So, if you've been to a meeting yet this week, you know that tofu, just regular tofu, not seasoned yet, well, seasonings really wouldn't count, but nothing added yet, is 0 smart points. So yeah, tofu is going to be on my menu a lot now since it's 0 smart points, but that's on the new Freestyle program. So make sure that you are following Freestyle Smart Points before you start counting this at zero. But today I'm going to be using the Nasoya Tofu Plus, and I get the organic firm. Sometimes I get extra firm. This works really well for stir fry, which is what I'm going to be doing tonight. And the first thing I'm going to do is open the package. We're going to drain it, and then I'm going to show you what to do with it after you drain it. So if you are new to tofu, please do not just open this container and start eating it, and please do not just use it like it is out of the container. Hold on for further instructions. Okay, so now I have just drained the tofu. I literally just opened the package and drained off the water into my sink. The next thing you want to do is to slice it, and depending on what you're going to do with the tofu, you can either slice it this way, you can slice it this way, or you can slice it this way. And because I'm going to use the whole thing in a stir fry, I'm just going to go ahead and make my slices in this direction. There's no magic to it. You just want to get them into thinner slices, because the next thing that we're going to do after this is we're going to drain some more of this moisture off. And I used a serrated bread knife. Not that there's any magic to that. It just seems to cut through it easier, and it makes a cleaner slice. Okay, let's move on to squeezing. Okay, and so now I have taken my tofu slices and I've put them on, this is just a clean washcloth. And I have one that I just keep in the kitchen just for kitchen use, not for bathing. It's just for in the kitchen. So I have a clean washcloth, and I've put it inside of a cookie tray. You can put it in something else, because we're going to want to squeeze out all the excess moisture so that this browns up nicely in our stir fry. Then I'm just going to take some paper towels, put them over the top. Ideally, you would put something heavy on this and you would let it sit for about an hour to an hour and a half in the refrigerator. You can actually let it sit overnight and soak it up. But because I've waited until the last minute, I'm going to have to use the pressure method. So notice the pan that I'm using is about the size of the tofu that I've laid out, and I'm just pressing down on it firmly. You can see how the moisture is coming out of it. So some of that is soaking down into the washcloth. And when you're done with the washcloth, you can just throw it in your laundry. You can wash it out in the sink. But I'm pressing firmly on this with the other pan. And again, if you had plenty of time, an hour to an hour and a half, with something heavy sitting on top of it, another baking dish would be fine. But since we're in a hurry, I'm using the pressing method, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So you're just going to continue to do that until you have most of the excess moisture out. Oh yeah, it's good and soggy underneath there. So we're about one press away. I'm going to flip this over just to try and get another dry spot on there. Go ahead and squeeze a little more. Don't be afraid to press on it. And remember, this is, although I just squished some, but this is firm tofu or extra firm. Don't do this with the silken, because you'll just end up with a soggy mess. Okay, now on to the next thing. Okay, now that we're done with the squeezing, now I'm going to cut this up into cubes, because we're going to stir fry it, and so I want it to be in little squares. So I'm literally just going to cut each one of these down the center, and you can see how easily this serrated bread knife just slices right through it. Then we're going to cut it this direction. These don't have to be, exactly any size, and especially now that tofu is 0 on the new Freestyle program, you can cut these into any size that you want. And I'm actually going to make this into, this is going to end up being 4 servings, but again, because it's 0, you don't have to count the tofu for anything. So now that I have it into these little chunks, now you see my handy dandy bag that I'm going to put my mix in, and we're going to let this soak up the flavor. The nice thing about tofu is that it really doesn't taste like anything. The bad thing about tofu is it really doesn't taste like anything. So again, don't ever try to eat it by itself because it's not going to taste like anything. It would basically be like if you cracked open an egg and tried to, just tried to eat it without actually doing anything to it. It just doesn't taste very good. So we are going to use the bag to do a marinade. So I'm just going to dump all of these in here. And the marinade that I've made, we'll look at it in just a second, but it is 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame oil, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil is 4 Smart Points. And then it has 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, and it has about 1/2 tablespoon of minced ginger and 1/2 tablespoon of minced garlic in there, and we're going to use that for our marinade. Okay, last little bit's going in. Here's the marinade. I'm going to give it a quick stir before we dump that in. So here's my marinade, and again, that is 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame oil. It's 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, about 1/2 tablespoon of minced garlic, and 1/2 tablespoon of minced ginger. We're just going to dump all that in there, and then we're going to gently go ahead and zip the bag. Go ahead and zip the bag. You don't want any of it escaping, and we're going to gently toss that around in there so that it gets onto everything. So once you've got this all tossed around, we're going to put this back in the refrigerator for about 1 hour to 1 hour and a half, or you can do it the day before and you can let it sit overnight, but you do want to let that marinade soak in there really, really well. So we're going to let that sit. I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator, and we'll be back in about 1 hour and a half. While we're waiting on the tofu to marinate, I've put 4 cups of carrots and broccoli into a glass Pyrex container. Put a little bit of water in the bottom, probably about 1/8 cup, maybe to 1/4 cup. I'm going to steam this in the microwave, and then I'm going to add some mushrooms to it before we actually do our stir fry. But because the tofu cooks more quickly than the vegetables do, I'm going to go ahead and microwave those. You could cook them in a steamer on top of the stove. If you've got a rice cooker, you can steam vegetables in that. Going to get those tenderized, and then we'll add the mushrooms when it's time to actually do the stir fry. Okay, and we're finally ready to make some tofu. So because the mushrooms and the tofu cook at about the same rate, I went ahead and put my sliced portobello mushrooms into the skillet, and I have that on medium-high heat. And I'm using a copper skillet, so I don't have any oil in there. But remember, the tofu had some oil on it, so let's add that now. And the tofu with the marinade, it's been marinating for about 1 hour. And again, you can do this overnight. That works really well to do it overnight because that way you don't have to wait on it. And I can tell you this is already smelling good. So yeah, it's been cooking for 2 seconds and it's already smelling very nice. So all of these Asian spices are coming together quite nicely, and we're just going to cook this for about 4 to 5 minutes until the tofu is browned. Okay, and with about 1 minute left, I added a tablespoon of Bragg liquid aminos. That acts pretty much like soy sauce. Actually, it tastes just like soy sauce. And now I'm going to add some Dax Asian Zing, just a light sprinkling of that to the top, just to add just an extra little Asian flair. And you can see it's all just about ready to go, and it smells delicious. I'm going to give it one more toss. Okay, and now remember the vegetables that I cooked in the microwave? Here they are. So we've got those fresh steamed carrots and broccoli to add to our tofu and mushrooms. And gee, maybe I should have gotten a bigger pan. You can see how pretty all this is coming together. Look at all those colors. So you know they tell us to eat the rainbow. This is exactly what they mean. Now if we could just figure